You slide out of your mother's womb, small, pink, and crying. You have nothing. No food, no shelter, no plan. And the world doesn't care. Right now, you are sitting somewhere climate-controlled, probably snacking on something that was engineered in a lab to make you physically unable to stop eating it, complaining that your DoorDash order is 12 minutes late. Your ancestors were out there chewing on roots pulled from frozen ground, licking minerals off cave walls, eating things that would make your stomach turn inside out, and they did it to survive. You do it because TikTok told you it's a wellness trend. Here's what nobody tells you about the human diet. It was never about pleasure, it was about not getting erased. For roughly 99% of human existence, your body wasn't a temple. It was a desperate machine running on whatever it could find. And the things it found, the clay, the ash, the bark, the fermented rot, weren't accidents. They were strategy. Cold, calculated evolutionary strategy. A smuggling operation so sophisticated that modern nutritional science is only now starting to decode it. Your gut is not a simple food processor. It is a black market fuel cartel, 200 generations deep, that learned to extract value from sources no clean label brand would ever touch. Let us go back, way back. Around 1.8 million years ago, Homo erectus is walking across the open savanna in what is now East Africa. The landscape is brutal, drought-hammered. The easy food, the ripe fruit, the easy prey is gone for weeks at a time. But Homo erectus doesn't fade away. He starts eating tubers, underground storage organs packed with fermentable starch and tough enough to survive wildfire. Archaeologist Richard Wrangham at Harvard has argued for decades that the shift to cooking these underground carbohydrates was the single most important dietary event in human evolution, more important than meat. Cooked starch didn't just feed your ancestor. It restructured his gut, shrunk his jaw, expanded his brain. The cartel discovered a new supply line, and it rewired the entire operation. But cooked tubers are just the beginning, because your ancestors weren't just eating food. They were eating the earth itself, geophagia, the deliberate consumption of soil, clay, and minerals. You probably just made a face. Don T.'s studies, led by Sarah Young at Northwestern University, one of the world's leading researchers on the phenomenon, found that geophagia is documented in over 200 cultures across every inhabited continent. It's not a disorder. It's not desperation. It's an ancient pharmaceutical operation. Clay particles bind to toxins, pathogens, and plant defensive chemicals in the gut. Before your ancestors had medicine, they had dirt, and that dirt was doing the work of a full detox protocol. It was absorbing the bitter alkaloids in wild plants that would otherwise shut down a liver. It was plugging gaps in mineral intake during pregnancy. It was quietly, efficiently, keeping the operation solvent when every other supply line was cut. Your body still craves this. That is why some people eat ice compulsively when they are iron deficient. That's why pregnant women in rural Georgia and sub-Saharan Africa still eat kale and clay. That's why you crave the metallic bite of a rare steak or the sour punch of fermented food when your system is depleted. Your gut is reaching back through 300,000 years of operational memory, trying to pull the same old moves. Now here, where the cartel comparison gets ugly. Because modern food didn't just replace the ancient supply chain, it hijacked it. Research by Gordon Shepard at Yale, a neurogastronomy pioneer, showed that flavor perception is not in food. It is constructed inside your brain. Your ancient brain was built to assign maximum reward signal to things that were rare and hard to get: fat, sugar, salt. In the savannah, these weren't abundant. They were jackpots. Finding a honeycomb wasn't a snack. It was a survival event. Your dopamine system fired like a jackpot machine because it needed to. Because your ancestors who felt the most pleasure from rare, high-calorie food were the ones who ate enough of it to keep existing. The modern food industry identified that wiring, and they reverse-engineered it. Ultra-processed food is not food. It is a synthetic trigger, a counterfeit supply, built in a laboratory by flavor chemists whose entire job is to find what the industry calls the bliss point, the precise ratio of fat, sugar, and salt that short-circuits your ancient reward system completely. They are not feeding you. They rerunning a con. They found the cartel's old communication lines, and they reflooding them with fake signals. Your brain gets the dopamine hit. Your body gets nothing it actually needs. And you keep coming back because the signal says jackpot, even though the safe is empty. This is not weakness. This is an ambush. Your ancestors who craved dirt and ash and fermented rot and charred bone, they were self-medicating with the only pharmacy available. The cravings weren't random. They were data. A mineral deficiency felt like a craving for clay. A gut pathogen load felt like a craving for bitter plant compounds. A need for short-chain fatty acids felt like a craving for fermented foods that had been left to rot in a hide sack for 3 weeks. The system was ugly. The system was disgusting by your modern standards. But the system worked. Anthropologist Paul Turk, studying the dietary flexibility of hunter-gatherer populations in the Pacific, documented groups maintaining peak physical and cognitive function on diets that modern dietitians would classify as borderline toxic, high in fermented protein, heavy in wild harvested tubers with significant cyanogenic compounds, supplemented by deliberate mineral licking at exposed rock faces. These weren't sick people. They were operating the ancient cartel at full capacity. Your body still has that capacity. But it's been rerouted. The gut microbiome, the several trillion microbial operators running the back end of your digestive cartel, took roughly 100,000 years to calibrate on wild, fermented, soil-adjacent food sources. It took about 60 years of ultra-processed industrial food to devastate it. Studies out of the Sonnenberg lab at Stanford have shown that even a single 14-day shift to a high-fiber, fermented food diet produces measurable increases in microbiome diversity and decreases in inflammatory markers. 60 years of damage, 2 weeks of feeding the original cartel, and the old operation starts coming back online. Your ancestors ate dirt because they were paying attention to their body signals. You eat a bag of chips engineered to make you ignore them. The difference isn't intelligence. Your ancestors were not smarter than you. They were not more disciplined. They were just operating in an environment where the counterfeit supply didn't exist yet, where every craving was a real signal pointing to a real deficiency, where the gut and the brain were still running the same version of the software without interference. Now you're running ancient hardware, ancient cravings, ancient reward circuitry, in a world that has spent billions of dollars learning exactly how to exploit every single line of that code. You slid out of your mother's womb with a pharmaceutical operation already installed. A nutrient sensing, toxin filtering, mineral seeking system refined over millions of years of surviving on a planet that was actively trying to erase your bloodline. And the first thing modern civilization did was hand you a Dorito and tell you to enjoy the jackpot. Your ancestors ate dirt to stay alive. You can't even taste it anymore.